This is the ultimate Minecraft enchanting guide for both beginners and the experienced. It includes everything from how to enchant, how to get enchantments, the best enchantments for every tool and weapon in the game, and so much more. So first, let's go over every single enchantment in the game and what they all do. I'll separate these into categories. All-purpose enchantments, which can be applied on everything. Tool enchantments, think pickaxes and shovels. Weapon enchantments, think sword and bow. And finally, armor enchantments. Let's start with the all-purpose enchantments. There's two of these that are essential for every tool, weapon, and armor piece in the game: Unbreaking and Mending. Unbreaking comes in 3 levels and will make durability drain much slower. Normally, your tool is guaranteed to lose 1 durability every time you use it, but with Unbreaking, there's a chance that it doesn't lose durability, and this significantly extends the lifespan of all your stuff. Mending, on the other hand, repairs lost durability upon the collection of XP orbs. So you can basically just regenerate all lost durability on any tool you want. Of course, you want this enchantment on everything, but on bows, there is a conflict with this enchantment which we'll dive into later. The other all-purpose enchantment is Curse of Vanishing. Any item with this enchant will not drop when you die. Not exactly useful, I'd say. In fact, the only time it's ever useful is for advanced PvP tactics where you don't want the other person getting your stuff if they kill you. For the vast majority of players though, especially in single player, this one's basically useless. Those are the all-purpose enchantments. Now let's get a bit more specific. Next up, we got the tool enchantments. The first major tool enchantment is Efficiency, which comes in 5 levels. This enchantment increases the mining speed of every tool in the game, whether it's a pickaxe, axe, shovel, or others. This is a great time saver, and the difference between a regular tool and efficiency tool is pretty notable. This is an enchantment you should have on every tool no matter what. After that, we got Fortune. This enchantment comes in 3 levels and basically increases the amount of drops that you get from certain blocks. For example, with a Fortune pickaxe, you can get multiple diamonds from 1 diamond ore block, more iron from 1 iron ore, more coal, you get the idea. But keep in mind, it works on very select blocks. Like, it's not going to give you multiple wooden logs or multiple cobblestone. It's mainly to be used on ores when mining and crops, which is why you only really need this enchantment on your pickaxe. You'll get the mining benefit, and since crops are insta-mine anyway, no matter what tool you're using, a Fortune pickaxe works just as well on them too. Following that, we got Silk Touch. This enchantment comes in 1 level and is incompatible with Fortune, or basically you can't have both on the same tool. Silk Touch ensures any block that you mine will be in its original form when you collect it. What does that mean? Well, you know how when you mine grass blocks, you get dirt instead? Well, with a Silk Touch tool, you will actually get grass blocks. Mining stone will give you actual stone blocks, not cobblestone, and mining diamonds will give you the diamond ore block itself, not diamonds. And to be honest, Silk Touch is just incredibly useful. You can get blocks that are completely unobtainable otherwise, like ice, and it's also just great for preserving blocks in their original state. The only issue, like I said, is that you can't have it with Fortune on the same tool. So what do we do here? Well, since I recommended to put Fortune on your pickaxe, here it's beneficial to just have a second pickaxe with Silk Touch. It doesn't have to be decked, it could even just be iron, just so you get the benefits of Silk Touch and Fortune together. But for other tools like axes, shovels, and hoes, I already mentioned there's no point putting Fortune on those, so just put Silk Touch on all of them. Don't need to worry about compatibility here. Then, these next 2 tool enchantments are exclusively for the fishing rod. I am including fishing rods in the tool section, but just keep in mind you can't put any of the other tool enchantments on a fishing rod, just these 2, Luck of the Sea and Lure. Luck of the Sea comes in 3 levels and will increase the chance of obtaining rare and treasure items while fishing. For example, you might get more name tags and enchanted items or books. It also decreases the chance of getting useless junk like leather or lily pads. Honestly, no reason not to have Luck of the Sea on a fishing rod. I mean, just have it, why not? You get free loot. The next fishing rod enchantment is Lure, which also comes in 3 levels. This one decreases the amount of time you need to spend waiting for each successful catch. Basically essential, because without this enchantment, you're going to be spending a way longer time trying to fish overall. So those are all the tool enchantments explained. Just to recap for each specific tool, on a pickaxe, you want Efficiency 5, Fortune 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending of course. Make sure to have a second pickaxe with Silk Touch though. For every other tool, including the axe, shovel, and hoe, you want Efficiency 5, Silk Touch, Unbreaking, and Mending. And for fishing rods, you want Luck of the Sea 3, Lure 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. So now let's move on to the weapon enchantments. I'll split this section section into two. We'll start with melee weapons, then move on to ranged weapons. Tridents are both melee and range, so they will be included in both sections. For melee weapons, first we got the damage enhancing enchantments: Sharpness, Smite, Density, Breach, and Impaling. Sharpness will increase the damage of the sword, axe, or spear towards every single mob in the game indiscriminately, while Smite focuses on increasing damage towards undead mobs specifically, and is more effective against undead mobs than a sharpness weapon is. So here's the thing, this depends on your version. If you're playing on Java Edition, where the axe is a viable weapon, then have a Smite 5 sword and Sharpness 5 axe. This way you get the best of both worlds. Common annoying undead mobs like zombies and skeletons get effortlessly thwarted with the Smite 5 sword, and the Sharpness axe will complement that, letting you one or two shot almost every other secondary mob in the game. Alternatively, you could also switch out one of these weapons for a spear instead if you want a long range melee weapon. For this case, I would recommend having Smite 5 on your spear instead for the same benefits, and combined with that spear, have the other weapon, either a sword or axe, with Sharpness 5 instead. If you're playing on Bedrock Edition though, axes are a crappy weapon. Do not use them, they do no damage. Sharpness is actually more effective on Bedrock as well, increasing your damage way more and allowing you to one-shot common mobs with a critical strike. This is why honestly, you don't need Smite on Bedrock at all. Just have one Sharpness 5 sword and that's enough. After that, Density is an enchantment specifically for the mace, and it will increase the amount of damage that the mace's smash attack does by a large amount, similar to Sharpness on a sword. No debate here, this is great, but not so fast. There's also Breach 4 levels, which is incompatible with Density. Breach will increase the effectiveness of the mace's damage against armored mobs and players. This is awesome for PvP, but not so useful in single player. It also has this incredible trick for PvP called Breach Swapping, mainly for Java Edition. Basically, a Sharpness 5 Netherite Axe critical hit does about 1 heart of damage to a player in full protection 4 Netherite armor. Yeah, that's very little. But all you have to do is have a Breach 4 mace with you, and on the same tick as you strike with the axe, hotkey switch to your mace instead, allowing you to effectively have Breach on your axe. It takes a bit of practice to get the timing right, but with this, you can 4-shot a player in full Prot 4 Netherite, making it an incredible PvP technique. So here's the verdict. If you're playing single player or a casual server, go with Density. You get increased damage towards all mobs and you're just happy. But if you're on a PvP or hardcore multiplayer server, Breach, especially with Breach Swapping, is great for dealing with heavily armored players and can give you a significant advantage. Impaling is an enchantment for the Trident, and this enchantment is version specific. On Java, Impaling works specifically on aquatic mobs like fish and guardians, but this does not include drowned because drowned are actually considered undead. On Bedrock Edition, however, Impaling works on any mob touching water or rain, including players, which makes it way more OP. But I'd say no matter the version, just have Impaling if you can. It's a must-have on Bedrock definitely, and you don't necessarily need it on Java, but it's still nice for quality of life and it doesn't conflict with anything else. Subsequently, we got these special power enchantments. These are Knockback, Looting, Sweeping Edge, Fire Aspect, and Wind Burst. Knockback, 2 levels, and Looting, 3 levels, are specifically for the sword and spear. Knockback will knock your enemies further back when you hit them, and Looting will increase the amount of drops that you get from mobs and the chance of mobs dropping rare items. Knockback really isn't that useful on a sword in my opinion, because against ranged mobs, you are literally just giving them the advantage, and against everything else, it makes killing them way more time consuming in general, because you have to keep running up to them to get a hit. On a spear though, because of the spear's long reach, knockback can actually be super helpful, so I do recommend it for the spear. Looting, on the other hand, is basically a must-have for both weapons in my opinion, great for getting rare items like tridents and wither skulls, and is also amazing for mob farms. Sweeping Edge, which comes in 3 levels, is a sword exclusive enchantment only on Java Edition. It will increase the amount of sweeping damage that you do to mobs in hordes. Great for clearing out groups of mobs quickly, and honestly, I'd really recommend getting this one. It's one of my favorites. Fire Aspect comes in 2 levels and is specifically for the sword, mace, and spear. It will cause anything you hit to be ignited for a short period. Great for extra damage over time, but if the fire gets the kill, the effects of looting for a sword or spear might not apply. So I'd say it's optional for those weapons, depends on if you're okay with that. And for the mace, the whole point of the mace is insta-killing things, so Fire Aspect with the extra damage over time doesn't help all that much. So for the mace, I'd say you really don't need it here. And finally, Wind Burst exclusively for the mace, which which comes in 3 levels. When using the Mace's smash attack with this enchantment, you will get propelled up in the air with a burst of wind, similar to the effects of a wind charge. This allows you to perform multiple smash combos on your enemies in a row. Great for extra damage, but it is a bit dangerous, especially for newer players due to the potential fall damage risk. I'd recommend at max using Windburst 1 or 2. Windburst 3 is a little crazy. To be honest, I'll leave Windburst itself as optional. By the way, I actually lied. We got one more melee enchantment, Lunge, which comes in 3 levels for the spear. This adds a secondary dash attack on top of the spear's main jab, which is quite useful. Not only can you use it to create space on your enemy, which is great for the spear, you can also just use it to escape sticky situations if you need to. The only downside is that it consumes a lot of hunger, but as long as you're not spamming the dash and you got food on you, that should be fine. So we'll put Lunge 3 on the spear. So just to recap the melee weapons section, on the sword you want Smite 5, Looting 3, Fire Aspect 2, optional, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. For the Bedrock users, switch out Smite 5 for Sharpness 5 instead. On the axe, for Java users, you want Sharpness 5, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. You can also have the axe's tool enchantments and weapon enchantments combined on one axe too. On the spear, you want Smite 5, Knockback 2, Fire Aspect 2, optional, Looting 3, Lunge 3, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. For the trident, melee purposes, you want Impaling 5, and finally, for the mace, you want Density 5 or Breach 4 if you're on multiplayer, Windburst 2, optional, Unbreaking 3, and Mending. So then, let's take a look at the ranged weapon enchantments. There's only 3 ranged weapons in the game, the bow, the crossbow, and the trident, so we'll just go by each weapon. Let's start with the bow. First up, we got Power, which comes in 5 levels. This enchantment will significantly increase the damage that the bow deals by 3 to 5 hearts. With this, you can easily 1 to 2 shot most mobs, obviously a must-have, I mean come on. Then we got Punch in 2 levels. This increases the amount of knockback that the bow deals, helping to keep your enemies at a distance. This is much better for a bow as it helps you keep the advantage over melee and close range mobs, so this is another enchantment you definitely want to add on. After that, Flame. This enchantment is similar to Fire Aspect in that it will ignite every mob that you hit with the bow. Your arrows will literally be flaming when they come out, but don't worry, this will not actually damage the environment or burn anything down in any way. Just be careful to not let it hit TNT as it can set it off. This one is also great to have on, just like Fire Aspect, adds some extra damage over time, perfect for finishing mobs on low health. And the final bow exclusive enchantment is Infinity. This is probably the most unique one. With this on, you'll need only 1 arrow in your inventory, and from that point, you'll have infinite ammo for your bow, saving you arrows and inventory space at the same time. There's only one problem though. It's incompatible with Mending, which if you need a refresher, allows you to regenerate your bow's durability using XP orbs. Without Mending on, you won't have that benefit, and you'll have to keep repairing it in an anvil over and over. But the benefits of Infinity are still so awesome though. So which one should you go for? Well, I'd say it depends on where you are in the game. If you're someone without many arrows and early on in your game, then Infinity is probably the better pick. But if you're someone with a skeleton farm or even villagers to trade arrows, or just has easy access to arrows in general, Mending will definitely be much more beneficial to you. The main problem most people have with Infinity is eventually your bow will become too expensive to repair if you repair it over and over again, but personally, I would still recommend Infinity because as long as you have Unbreaking 3, breaking your bow until it's too expensive to repair will be pretty difficult. But Mending is still a valid choice, and on some worlds where I have an excess of arrows, I do actually go with Mending in those too. Following that, let's take a look at the crossbows enchantments. First, Quick Charge, which comes in 3 levels. This will make your crossbow draw much faster, almost just as fast as a regular bow. This makes the crossbow much easier to use, especially in fast-paced situations where you don't have time for the slow charging. I would say definitely put this one on the crossbow if you can. Next, we got Piercing, which comes in 4 levels. This one will make your crossbow's arrows pierce straight through mobs, with level 4 allowing you to pierce through 4 mobs at once. This means if you have 5 mobs in a line, you can hit all of them with 1 single arrow. Absolutely amazing for crowd control with melee mobs, but there's also multi-shot, which is incompatible with piercing. Multi-shot will make 3 arrows fire from your crossbow at once, as opposed to just 1 with no additional ammo cost. Only the original arrow fired can be picked up. This one sounds great, but the thing is, this doesn't actually do any extra damage to a mob, since mobs can only be hit with 1 arrow at a time. Plus, in a horde, sometimes the arrows are buggy, they just straight up bounce off and don't hit the mobs at all, so for this purpose, Piercing is a much better enchantment overall. But multi-shot is better if you're using a firework crossbow. A firework crossbow is basically a rocket launcher with a ton of splash damage, and adding multi-shot allows you to really amplify that splash damage to hit more enemies. So yeah, it really depends, but on a regular crossbow, which most people are using, piercing is better. Finally, we got the ranged trident enchantments. The first one is channeling. This one on a trident during a thunderstorm allows you to smite mobs and players as long as they're exposed to the air. This looks crazy cool and does a fair bit of extra damage too. It can also help you get special mobs like charged creepers and brown mushrooms much easier too, so it's helpful from a trophy and fun standpoint. Great enchantment, highly recommend this one. After that, loyalty comes in 3 levels and will cause your trident to always be returned to you whenever you throw it. This makes the trident a much more effective ranged weapon because normally when you throw it, you immediately get disarmed and have to go pick it up, but with loyalty, you can use it just like a bow. But loyalty is incompatible with Riptide, which also comes in 3 levels. The Riptide enchantment makes it so that instead of throwing your trident, you will instead be propelled forward at a rapid speed. This only works underwater and in rain, but is amazing for quick transportation, especially underwater. So here, it really depends on what you're looking for out of the trident. If the transportation aspect sounds appealing, then go with Riptide. But if you're actually trying to use the trident as a secondary ranged weapon, then loyalty is the better choice instead. So let's recap the ranged weapons section. For a bow, you want power 5, punch 2, flame, unbreaking 3, and either infinity or mending. For a crossbow, you want quick charge 3, piercing 4, multi-shot, unbreaking 3, and mending. And then for the trident, you want unbreaking 3 and mending of course, and on top of impaling, which we added in the melee section, you also want to add loyalty 3 and channeling, but if you just want the trident for transportation, then simply adding Riptide 3 is enough. So we've covered all the tool and weapon enchantments now. There are other tools and weapons I didn't talk about, like the flint and steel and the brush. You can enchant these only with unbreaking 3 and mending if you want, but there's really no point doing so as they are easily replaceable. We're now going to move on to some armor enchantments. There will be general armor enchantments and specific ones for each piece, so let's just jump right in. First, we got the protection / damage reduction enchantments. These can be put on every armor piece and each come in 4 levels: protection, projectile protection, fire protection, and blast protection. Regular protection, or just protection, will simply reduce your damage taken against all kinds of sources except for hunger and the void. This means less damage against melee attacks, ranged attacks, fall damage, fire or lava, explosions, and more. Projectile protection reduces your damage taken against ranged attacks specifically. Blast protection reduces your damage against explosives like TNT or wither skulls, and fire protection reduces your damage taken against fire and lava and reduces the time spent burning. Do note that enchantments that focus on one specific thing, like blast protection does with explosions, will do a better job of protecting you against that one thing compared to regular protection. You have to choose one out of the 4 though. They're all mutually exclusive. You can only have one of them on any given piece of armor, so the regular protection enchantment is the best option here. It can protect you in many more situations compared to the other 3, so personally, I'd recommend to put the protection 4 enchantment on all 4 of your armor pieces, but if you want, you can have either fire protection 4 or blast protection 4 on the boots, depending on which one you value more. Next, we got just one more enchantment that you can put on all armor pieces, and that is the Thorns enchantment, which comes in 3 levels. This enchantment will cause enemies that damage you to also take some damage as well. So for example, if a zombie hits me, it will take damage just by hitting me. This enchantment is really useful as you can pretty much just kill anything that attacks you, but it does drain your durability extremely quickly, and in some situations, Thorns is really just not needed or a straight up liability, so I'm leaving Thorns 3 as optional. After this, we're getting into enchantments you can only put on specific pieces of armor. Helmet only enchantments include Aqua Affinity 1 level and Respiration 3 levels. First, we got Aqua Affinity. If you guys didn't know, mining blocks underwater is much slower compared to mining on land, and Aqua Affinity fixes this issue by allowing you to mine underwater at the same speed as you would on the surface. Then Respiration. This is another water enchantment and will simply allow you to breathe underwater for longer without drowning. Level 3 giving an additional 45 seconds of breathing time. This enchantment also makes you take less drowning damage. Both of these enchantments are nice but not necessary unless you spend a lot of time underwater. If you had to get one, I'd say get Respiration 3. It's nice for quality of life. Then we got only one leggings only enchantment, and that is Swift Sneak, which comes in 3 levels. This enchantment does exactly what it says. It increases your speed when sneaking, and at level 3 you'll be moving at 75% of your regular walking speed. It's another nice to have but not necessary enchantment. You can also only find it in ancient cities, a rare and dangerous structure, so I'll leave this up to you guys. After that, we got the boots only enchantments. These are Feather Falling, 4 levels, Frostwalker, 2 levels, Depth Strider, 3 levels, and Soul Speed, also 3 levels. Feather Falling will simply reduce the amount of fall damage that you take, and it, combined with protection, does a much better job with reducing fall damage than just the protection enchantment. So Feather Falling 4 is a must-have enchantment for your boots. Frostwalker will basically make you Elsa. Whenever you touch water with this enchantment, the water will temporarily freeze into ice. This sounds really cool, but can be kind of annoying since the ice is really buggy, you can't sprint jump, and going underwater gets kind of hard. In fact, if you want to travel faster in water, I'd say to go with Depth Strider over Frostwalker. Both of these enchantments are incompatible, but Depth Strider makes you travel faster in water to the point where you can move as if you were sprinting on land. Definitely a super useful enchantment, and I recommend to get Depth Strider 3 for your boots if you can. Finally, we got the Soul Speed enchantment. This makes it so you travel faster on soul sand and soul soil blocks. Not groundbreaking per se, so this is another one where I'll say unless you really need it, don't put in so much effort. So just to recap, the best armor enchantments in Minecraft are as follows: Helmet, Unbreaking 3, Mending, Protection 4, Thorns 3, optional, Aqua Affinity 1, optional, and Respiration 3. Chestplate, Unbreaking 3, Mending, Protection 4, and Thorns 3, optional. Leggings, Unbreaking 3, Mending, Protection 4, Thorns 3, optional, Swift Sneak 3, optional, and finally, boots, Unbreaking 3, Mending, Protection 4, Thorns 3, optional, Feather Falling 4, Depth Strider 3, and Soul Speed 3, optional. Now there is one more armor enchantment I didn't cover, Curse of Binding. When you put on armor with this, it makes it so that you can never take it off, like ever, unless you die. I didn't cover this in the list, mainly because it's dog shit, but it's still an enchantment, so it still deserves to be covered, I guess. So now you know what every enchantment in Minecraft does, and the best enchantments for all your stuff. Now there's just one more thing we have to tackle. How do you actually get these enchantments? Well, first, you could make an enchanting table and surround it with 15 bookshelves like so. After that, simply put your item into the table with 3 or more lapis lazuli, and you'll get a random roll of enchantments to put your item. These enchantments are all random though, so an even better method is to use an anvil. With an anvil, you can get individual enchantments in the form of enchanted books and add them directly to your item for the cost of some experience. How do you get these enchanted books? Well, the librarian villager is the best way to get them, because you can trade for the exact enchantment you want, and you can get almost every enchantment in the game from them. The librarian's workstation is a lectern, so if you want to reset the enchantment they sell, just break their lectern and place it back down again. The villager will change their enchantment, and you can do this until you get the one that you want. Once you trade with the villager though, his trades are locked and you can't reset his enchantments. And while this is a great way to get the enchantments you're looking for, there are some enchantments villagers don't trade for, which I'll cover right now. First, there's Soul Speed, which we covered a minute ago. You can only get this one in Piglin Bastion chests in the Nether. Swift Sneak, this one can only be found in the Ancient City chests. And finally, Wind Burst can only be obtained at a 5% chance from an ominous vault in Trial Chambers. You'll also only get Wind Burst 1, so to get Wind Burst 2, which is what I recommend, you'll need to get 2 of these books and combine them in the anvil. Now here's something really important, so listen very carefully. If you're going to be using an anvil to apply enchantments to your items, there is a slight gimmick which you need to keep in mind. Too expensive. Basically, if you spend too many XP levels in the anvil or add your enchantments in the wrong order, you just won't be able to add more enchantments or edit the item any further. And this sucks, but don't worry. There's a method to prevent this from happening, which I'm about to show you. The way the anvil works is that every time you use the anvil to upgrade something, the amount of experience levels you spend increases. Eventually, this will reach a point where the anvil says too expensive, and you won't be able to upgrade the item anymore. So how do we combat this? Well, first tip is to get some of the enchantments from the enchantment table first. This way you will use the anvil lesser and will ultimately spend less levels. But using anvils is more convenient, and if you have a lot of enchantments that you need to add with books, that's when things can get tricky. So here's how to properly do this. First, don't just add each individual enchanted book to the item one by one. This will increase the amount of times you use the anvil, and we already know that's a bad thing. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to combine most of your enchantments into just a few books. When I say a few books, I mean 3 to 4. Please do not put all of your enchantments on one single book. That is maybe the worst thing you could possibly do. Now listen carefully. If you're trying to apply 5 enchantments to an item, like a bow, first we're going to take a single enchantment book and another single enchantment book, and now we have a book with 2 enchantments. Combine another set of single enchantment books like so to create another book with 2 enchantments, and from here you can simply add the books to your item. For 6 enchantments, like on a helmet, it's quite similar. We're going to again combine 2 single enchantment books to make a book with 2 enchantments, and we're going to do it again with another set of enchanted books, so now we have 2 books with 2 enchantments each, and 2 single enchantment books left. We're going to combine these 2 books that are left over to create a third book with 2 enchantments, and after that, we can simply add all the books to our item. For 7 enchantments, the best way to conserve XP, we're gonna have 3 books with 2 enchantments each, and 1 book with a single enchantment. Keep in mind when you're combining books, the order of the books in each slot of the anvil also affects how much XP you're going to spend combining them. Different enchanted books also take different amounts of XP. Usually, you don't want to combine the most expensive enchantments together because you'll wind up spending more XP. Instead, it's better to combine the expensive enchantments with cheap ones like Unbreaking or Mending. If you guys did enjoy this video, then please consider dropping a like and a sub, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.